made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channel and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, and Prime Spine Consulting. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 314 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your co-host, Luke Millette, and here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Lewis Sumner, and if you want to hear from the future of chiropractic, stay tuned. Welcome back. It's another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. We're at 314 with Lewis Sumner coming in from the UK. It's after 8 p.m. over there, he just mentioned to me. And I got co-host Luke Millette coming in from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and 2 hours ahead of me. So we're all in different time zones, and I'm coming in from the beautiful state of Colorado. And I just want to welcome Dr. Lewis to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I've listened to almost all of the podcasts, so it's an absolute pleasure to come on and just thank you for everything that you do. It's wicked.
Well, it's really cool because a lot of times when I mentioned to what we do, a podcast, the older generations of chiropractors, they're like, a what cast? And the younger generation like yourself, you're like, man, I'm a huge fan. I've listened to the show. We've shared it. We've listened, and it's really cool to hear how generationally speaking, we speak your language.
100%. We all, all I do is share podcasts all the time to different people. We've got a whole group chat of just resources after resources. It's wicked.
Yeah. And I know you started your own too. So before we get into your story, let's go in reverse a little bit and share the project that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Yeah. So I started this Chiropractic Student Podcast. Essentially a group of my friends and myself and other chiropractors I spoke to all sort of wished that there was a chiropractic advice, tips, student resources to help you get through college and university, because you kind of still want someone to hold your hand going through uni and just some actual insight from chiropractors in the big wide world. You'd get a lot of your lectures telling you what to do, and it's a lot of textbooks, whereas a lot of the chiropractors in the big wide world are telling you completely the opposite stuff. So I was just trying to bridge that gap between this is stuff you can do outside of uni to really get ahead of the game, make some connections, here's some tips and advice from chiropractors who've been there, done that, and are now really excelling in this profession. And luckily we've had great take up from some great people who are just, everyone obviously in the chiropractic community is just willing to just pile in and just, oh, it's for the students? Hell yeah. They're just wanting to give and give and give. And so just trying to make that more aware for students worldwide. We've had American, we've had European, British, all sorts of chiropractors on there. So it's not just for UK, it's for everyone. But it's really daunting starting a podcast. So for you guys to be 314 in, well done. I'm 14 in. So,
well, really quickly before we continue, what's it called and where can people find it?
Yeah, it's the Chiropractic Student Podcast. That's all it's called. And it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I think it's on SoundCloud and Deezer, and it's just everywhere. And it's on YouTube as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, before we bridge into your story, I just want to set some ground rules for people and let them know why we exist. We do keep free speech alive in the beautiful profession of chiropractic. We do support subluxation-based chiropractic. We do support innate intelligence, universal intelligence, and we believe that chiropractic has a massive future ahead of it. And we're just in the infancy of this profession. So I just wanted to let everybody know that will be listening and commenting and sharing this is that's why we do what we do. And we are a place for free speech and chiropractic. And with that being shared, let's go further with you, Dr. Lewis. Please share with our audience today your chiropractic story and what inspired you to become a chiropractor.
Cool. So it's a slightly windy story, but as a kid, I used to play ping pong. And at my local club, I used to just get lifts because my parents would just kind of palm me off and go make your own way to training or whatever. So I used to go there and I used to get friendly with this chap. And he was quite an older guy. He must have been like in his 80s. Really lovely, always giving, and such a lovely guy. Got talking. He lived like round the corner. He was like, Lewis, I'll just pick you up, take you, bring you home whenever. I'm going every week. A year passes and I'm like, I must be like 13 or 14 at this point. And I'm like, what do you do? And he tells me he's a chiropractor. He's a McTimoney chiropractor. He actually used to own McTimoney College after John McTimoney passed and passed it on to his children. Stan stepped in. His name's Stan Harding, this chap. Anyway, we were like playing loads of table tennis, and I was wanting to become a doctor. I'd always wanted to help people, and I was good with my hands. So then I started weaving into sports therapy, physiotherapy, osteopathy, and now chiropractic. So I went and shadowed him. I was like 14 at this point, and I was like, what is going? This is weird. This guy's touching people. And I was like, what is happening? Anyway, I think a miracle happened whilst I was there. Well, I'm sure a miracle happened looking back now, and it's a miracle story straight off the bat. I was shadowing, 14 years old. He gets a call, emergency call. My daughter's just fallen off her horse. She can barely walk. Can she just come get an emergency? Stan's like, yes, bring her in right now. I'm sat in the corner like, what? This girl, probably like 10, gets carried in, lays down on the bench. If you know McTimoney, it's a few flicks and pushes and phew, like this kind of thing. And she just gets up and she's like, oh, cool, thanks, walks out. And I'm just sat there like, holy, what the hell just happened? So I was like, what's going on? He explains to me how chiropractic addresses the cause of what's going on, and put it so simply that a 14-year-old could understand it. He has this little poster and he goes, look, if I do this and this causes a misalignment, pinches on this nerve or whatever, and there's dysfunction, it stops this from happening. The symptoms you get, you can take paracetamol, you can take ibuprofen, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really know what they were at the time, but he was like painkillers and whatever. I was like, yeah, cool. He was like, that just masks it. Chiropractic treats the cause. This is what's happening. This is what's causing it. And then from there, it pretty much made sense. I actually only really had it as wellness. I never had something go wrong. He started treating me like once every couple of months, really, because I was young and I was 15 and I was fine. Obviously had a few subluxations that you'd clear along the way, but it was my girlfriend that I then got at like 16, 17. She had like kidney failure. And she was basically running on one kidney. And I was like, she was going to the hospital having dialysis and whatever at like quite a young age, like 17 or whatever. And I was like, oh, I mentioned it to Stan, and I was like, oh, it's probably nothing you can help with. And just was like, could you just have a look? Anyway, he starts adjusting her. Lo and behold, after about 8 months, like she just starts flourishing, just feeling better in herself. She used to have heavy menstrual cycles, all sorts of other stuff like digestive problems and kidney things. And I'm just like, I watched it happen to someone at the time that was really close to me, and I was like, this is crazy. So that's like, it's like someone else's story that I was there to witness and follow. And just from there, I just kind of kept under his wing. I then shadowed a lot. We kept in contact through university. And he still practices now. He's like in his 90s or something, like going strong, still adjusting and doing what chiropractors do. So that's my story, really.
So I'm not sure if you mentioned this yet or not. How long have you been in practice now?
Literally like 3 months. I've been qualified for 3 months, but I've been in practice for a couple of weeks. I've been shadowing for like a good 2 months and like doing the odd progress with exam and things like that. But 2 weeks has been where I've been hands-on, on your own. Here you go, Lewis. Here's a patient. Do what you want.
So being like brand new in this, what are some things that you're trying or doing in your community to get new patients in the door?
We're doing a lot of, it sounds cringy, but like Instagrams and Reels and TikToks, and because we're trying to bring in that wellness younger audience at the moment. We do tons of stuff. I go around this little retail park all the time just with flyers and leaflets, and I'm handing out stuff, just going to gyms and going to businesses, doing health talks, doing all sorts. We do, every time you do a Facebook check-in, we donate to like a local charity. We're doing like a big harvest thing, donations again of food for like the community food bank. Lots of, I guess, then normal marketing and advertising. But what we do is we do that all as the business, as the Epoch Lincoln. And then on the side, all of the chiropractors do individual things where we're obviously linked with Epoch. So come and see me if you like the way that I'm talking about chiropractic. If you prefer the way that Tom or John or Sarah is talking about chiropractic, maybe it's more suited that you go see them, but we're all at Epoch, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm just trying to bring awareness to everyone. Like I had someone on my podcast the other day who brought up the whole elevator speech, but also when someone asks you what you do, don't say I'm a chiropractor. They say I'm someone who works with the nervous system in a holistic way. We look at the body as a whole, and we're drug free and we're medical free, and I look at actually adjusting the cause of what's going on, blah blah blah. And then you get them hooked, and then they're like, so, like, what do you do? And then you go, I'm a chiropractor. And then they love it. And it's like, they're like, oh, that's what a chiropractor does? I just thought they crack backs. So if you lead with chiropractor, they go crack backs, back pain. If you lead with what you do and then what your profession is, like, I find that has been like an absolute gold mine.
Yeah. Well, listening to what you say, it's about taking care of the cause and what causes somebody to feel a certain way. And I think it's just really impactful, the story that you shared about the horse riding accident, and that she comes in, gets a few checks, gets adjusted, and is on her way, feeling good, functioning properly. And just to turn the page back a bit to Luke, when we first started to do project work together, he was having migraines. Luke, how often were you having migraines?
On average, probably like 2 or 3 a month.
Yeah. And Luke has probably been under chiropractic care now, I don't know, 10 years. And maybe share with the audience how frequent you're getting migraines now.
Now it might be one every 3 or 4 months. But when I was a kid, I would have one like every day. That was a nightmare. So
the power within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Figure that one out.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's just it, Lewis, is it's not only what you're doing as a practitioner, but a communicator now. You're going to find a Luke, or you're going to find the horse accident, or you're going to find the next advocate. And it's because if you're going out there and doing the food bank campaign and the leaflets and the guerrilla style marketing and building relationships with people that have health care facilities and health clubs. Now you are bringing the next person along to say, look, it's not about the pain, the strain, and the discomfort. It's about what we do to help the nervous system flourish and function. And it's about the power of the nervous system functioning the way it's supposed to. And by removing the subluxation, which is the misalignment of your spine, it's not just twisting, cracking, and popping. It's about restoring your ability to self-heal and self-regulate and to adapt. And that's the cool thing about sharing the story about the girlfriend that you had at that time, because I'm sure her body just started functioning the right way, and the body started flourishing and self-regulating and self-healing.
Yeah, and at that point, we were too young really to truly understand anything as well. A lot of people, when they're older, they get really stubborn and they shut off to a lot of things. Like when you're that young, you're open and It's just like, if it works, it works. Like, it's like when a kid tells you if you're ugly, then you know you're ugly. Like, there's no placebo, there's no filter. It just happens because it happens. It's like the honest truth. And like when I was listening to like Reggie earlier today on my break, and he was like, I adjusted a hamster, like, and the hamster went from paralyzed to being able to walk. Like, how can you say that it's placebo? I adjusted the subluxation, he's now better. What more do you want? It just, sometimes it baffles me when people don't understand that. And I'm like, we use x-rays in our clinic, and I'm like, can you see this right here? What's going on? This is the issue. And like, until you put it right in front of someone's face, they're just like, no, it's just muscle, or it's just where I'm holding my tension. And sometimes things like x-rays has been a bit of a godsend from where I'm working. I understand it's not for everyone. That's fine. You practice how you want to practice. But when it comes to explanation to those, especially those really stubborn people, and in my case, being a lot younger than a lot of my patients, for me to actually just be like, this, I can literally point to it and say, this is your issue. If we change this, then you're going to see all these changes go on. You're going to live a subluxation-free life, which means bingo for the nervous system, which means bingo for life. And that's pretty much how I explain it to people, because it's so simple that they understand it, yet scientific enough for me to seem clever.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, and Prime Spine Consulting. Let's hustle.
So when you're not taking care of other people, how do you take care of yourself? How do you keep your own body in check? Do you get adjusted?
Well, I literally just got adjusted before I left the office.
Good.
All the time. I get adjusted. I probably ask too often. Tom has to kind of say, one, oh, pardon me. He's like, that's probably enough. You've already been adjusted today. And it's like, I get high off of it. But probably like at least once a week, maybe twice a week. I'm still recent grad, so my posture when I adjust is horrific, and I'm well aware of it, and I'm trying to make that change. But so getting adjusted regularly is quite important for me to stay functioning, and for me to give my best to the patients. I get adjusted regularly. I do a lot of breath work. I fall asleep to doing breath work and meditation every day. I wake up. I try and do a bit of breath work. I work out when I can, which is like maybe 3 or 4 times a week, whether that's in my room where I stay, because I rent a room while I'm up in Lincoln. And then luckily enough, I'm a member of a gym when I go back home over the weekend. I have friends who run and gym. So I could do a lot more. At the moment, I'm in a transition of starting this new job and trying to find my feet. So I'm doing probably like 3 or 4 a week, but I'd like to be a bit higher. Sounds a bit corny, but I cut out dairy, like a lot of dairy and wheat and meat as well. I still eat them, but I have them more as a treat. So I kind of, I'd say I'm predominantly plant-based, but I'm not vegan, and I don't ever call myself vegan. I say I'm predominantly plant-based, but if we go out one night, I'm not going to be awkward and be like, they don't have blah, blah, blah. They don't have a pumpkin soup or something. I'll have whatever. But I just found I experimented on myself, and I just found that I was just really, my digestive system just did not like dairy, wheat, or meat. I just literally did a day when I'd eat meat, journal it, and be like, oh, it's a bit iffy. And then next day not have it, and I'll be like, okay, cool. What else changed? Water, all this other stuff. That's a really cool tip, actually, to anyone. Just experiment with yourself. Like, instead of, you can go years without knowing, and it's just like, just take a month to just really experiment with your body and see what agrees with you and what doesn't. you don't need to go and have all these fancy tests. Like, you can, and maybe you should down the line, but for now, a good base, just try all that stuff. Try whatever.
And so earlier you kind of touched on staying in touch with your community and making sure people are aware of chiropractic and how it can help. But what are some of your favorite ways to stay connected to your community, other than the ways you might have mentioned already?
I try and stay connected with a lot of my old student friends, and I made a lot of friends in like year 1, 2, and 3, who are now 2, 3, 4, and whatever. But I've been talking with the UCA, which is the United Chiropractic Association. They do this thing called Chiro Buddy, which is for students. And I've put my kind of name in the hat to say, I'm willing to help. I understand that I'm not in a very experienced position, but I'm so willing to help because I was that struggling student. I like doing that kind of thing. I mean, anyone I talk to is pretty much going to start chiropractic care. So if that counts, then yay. Whether it's with me right then and they just get a upper cervical when I'm just there sat in a chair after I've given them a little look around. But I kind of like to say I just try and get everyone involved with it. And just having that energy, that positivity, giving back with the podcast. I feel like I'm doing enough, a lot. I don't know what else I could really be doing. If you have any tips, I'm all ears.
Well, listening to what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense to me. And becoming ambitious and taking care of your body and being ambitious to take care of other people, those things, that matters. I like the idea of the Chiro Buddy. I kind of like, I do that for seasoned chiros. I stay in touch with people and build accountability with them and help them out and mentor them and talk to them. So I think it's cool that you guys are mentoring and building a network that has some structure to it. So kudos to you for doing that.
We also have I have a bit of coaching as well from Tom, which is great because he's a coach as well. And I think an amazing bit of advice for students would be to get a coach, or any chiropractor to get a coach, not even a chiropractic coach necessarily, just a life coach, because every time I get off that call, I go for a run twice as long. I get straight onto everything. It just gets me so pumped for the week and just gets me so ready, and just they light a fire in your belly if you get the right one. That's having coaching calls has changed my whole perspective in the last 2 months, probably.
Well, it's cool to see that you're investing in your time, in your relationships, and the future looks pretty amazing with you being a part of the chiropractic profession.
It's exhausting. I'm 25. I'm knackered.
But it's a lot of responsibility, and for those that get positions of influence, have a lot of responsibility to carry along with them. And it's probably not going to get much easier for you. But how do you see? I don't know. I usually ask people a 20-year question, but how do you see chiropractic moving forward as you being a part of this the next front of chiropractic?
Do you want the optimistic or realistic?
You can give both.
The truth.
The truth. Okay, realistic. Let's go for it. Okay, I think the divide is going to become worse within the profession. Realistically, I think we need to come to grips with that there's going to be a huge divide between subluxation and then more mechanical based chiropractors. The split will stay there because they'll still be, we're the evil ones to them and they're the evil one. I say evil in quote marks. We're the evil ones to them, they're the evil ones to us. So we're both baddies on both sides of the spectrum, whatever way you look at it. But we're all going to still keep getting chiropractic degrees. However, I think COVID's a blessing in disguise, to be fair, because there's so much push for natural wellness and health at the moment that a lot of the we call vitalistic subluxation. I know there's a big mix, but I'm just generalizing for now. The vitalistic approach of adjusting a subluxation and just using tonal approach or whatever it is that we do is becoming way more sought after, because people are seeing what's happening and questioning a lot of the media and public health. And it's different in the States, and it's different in the UK, and it's different in every single country, and even some counties and states. So it's going to be really interesting. I think it's going to thrive and also debate / hate each other more than ever at the same time, because there's going to be an unhappy side that are not happy at how well some people are thriving. And with like all Heidi Harvick stuff, like the more research that gets us ticked in that box for evidence-based, that can actually say, me pushing on this is actually doing something, the sooner that actually happens, the more wide reach we will get. And I think it's a sad thing, because nothing's going to change in what we do. We're going to be exactly the same of what we've been doing for the last 126 years. But all that's going to happen now is we're going to have a bit of piece of paper that's going to say, yes, they actually do that, because we now have the technology to prove that. It's going to be a very sad time, but it's also going to be a really good time. You got to look at it in a positive way. That's going to make the profession thrive. It's going to, can I swear?
Please do.
It's going to piss a lot of other people off. Good, because I really wanted to use that then. It's going to piss a lot of people off, and it's going to make a lot of people really happy. So the chiropractic profession as a whole is going to grow, but it's going to still be split. I mean, I'm really excited for it, because I like to think I'm quite an outspoken, and I'm going to rustle a few feathers along my way, because like I listen to the greats and I'm like, these guys are great. If I can influence one person like the way that they've influenced me, I listen to SIG Talks. I've listened to all SIG Talks like twice, and I'm like listening to all of Reggie Gold's old tapes, and I'm listening to your podcast, and I'm like, there are people out there preaching this message. We need to get it out there a bit more. It's just how chiropractors are just useless at marketing at the moment, which is why we need people like you, who are the creatives, who are putting it out there to more people. I forgot where I was going with this, but big split, lots of people under chiropractic care, still a little bit of what is chiropractic, but with the right patient education, the right marketing, and the right everything else, and the right people, and the right mindset and passion, I think we'll be all right.
Well, I honestly believe what you're saying. There's going to always be opposition for good.
Oh, yeah.
There's always going to be opposition for bad. And we can create good and bad by the pictures that we paint and what we see inside of them. And some people are going to paint chiropractic as the answer. And some people will say, well, we have to do it this way for it to be the answer. So it's real interesting times. And there's a lot of identity that's growing out of this COVID times. And people are going to be able to determine what it looks like for them as the practitioner. But also the demand is going up for people to want the damn truth when it comes for what they want as the person receiving care. There's going to be a lot more transparency, I believe, that happens for what people are going to say, well, I was never told this. Why not? And it's because they've been stifling the message of chiropractic for a long time. And the open channel of communication, if you're not interested in it, you don't pay attention to it. So we do speak to a small subset of people with our show, and the chiropractic message hits a small subset of practitioners and wellness warriors. But I think it's really cool that you see the direction going the way that you do, because, you know, the real truth of it is there is people that are going to cheer for a different team, and they're going to support a different brand, and that's okay. And just as long as we don't lose what really matters, and that's the historical relationship with what the profession was founded upon, and where we build upon that, not take from that. So I like a lot of the stuff that you're sharing with us. And I know you mentioned the SIG, and you've mentioned Tom, and you've mentioned Reggie, people that know what we're doing here, we're talking about Thomas Waller, who is your mentor that you're working with over in England. We're talking about Reggie Gold. So if you guys don't know who Reggie Gold is, go Google him and check him out. Watch The Valley of the Blind, find that. And then if you don't know Sig, that's James Sigafus, and go find some talks of him on YouTube. But just to kind of pre-reference some of the things that you're sharing with people that might not know what you're interested in, this is just letting everybody know where they can find those resources and build their attention units based on that information.
I love it. Yeah, I'm sorry that I didn't give the resources. You're damn straight. Give them all.
So who are your heroes? Who do you look up to in this profession?
Oh, I would love to meet Sig, like James Sigafus, Jim. When I hear some people who are like, "Oh, I had dinner with him. I got adjusted by him," and it's like, I literally just missed the boat, and I was like, it's really disappointing. And I think just the way they talk about it, and I get my passion from them. I can feel their passion. You can hear it. You can feel it. I cry. I laugh when I listen to all this stuff because I'm like, it's so damn true. I want to grab people and just shake them until they understand it. But we can't do that because we're lovers. We're huggers. We don't grab people and shake them. We hug them and we love them. But definitely Sigfus. I like Fred Barge. His books are cool. And then obviously Reggie Gold. At the moment in this time of my life, I'm diving into that philosophy side of things, that very holistic, vitalistic, just understanding chiropractic for what it is, not treating symptoms, but literally just adjusting a subluxation and just whatever happens. Like, cool, your body will do what it wants to do with that information. And maybe I've overstimulated it, maybe I've understimulated it, but we'll work together to find what's best for you. That's like how I am at the moment. Interview me in like 5 years, I might be completely different. I might be stretching and rubbing massage and putting needles in everything and saying, nah, that baloney didn't work. But I've had good results so far and I've only just started. So that's where I am at the moment. I'm really big onto my philosophy, but there's still so much I don't know, which is really annoying. But there's so much stuff out there that I'm excited to just carry on reading.
Well, we are just about at the end of our time together, but really quickly, I'm curious. I just want to ask: do you have any heroes that aren't chiropractors, like artists or musicians or anything like
that? Kind of. Again, one's like at the moment. I really got pumped by, is it David Goggins?
Goggins,
that's the one. David Goggins. Like whilst I was at uni in like year 1, year 2, I was wanting to quit, and I just saw these like YouTube series come up, and from that, it was just no excuse to not finish, because I knew if I finished, what I could give to the world was so much greater than just quitting and then going back to working a 9 till 5 in Bicester Village or whatever, which is like just a retail park, working at Gucci or something. What you have the ability to give to the world, I learned from that. And it's just, it can be whatever you want. You can genuinely do whatever you want within a certain, obviously some people have a head start, some people don't, but there's no reason why you can't get to where you wanted. And he had a talk. Who's the other guy who's got like a really husky voice? He had a thing on Netflix. He's really famous. I've forgotten his name. He's another really big inspirational.
Frank Kern?
No, I think he used to be a basketball player or something, or baseball player. I don't know. Anyway, again, him. Yeah,
whoever that is.
I'd love to meet the Beatles. I don't know.
Oh, me too. Don't get me started.
Yeah, and I used to have a lot of table tennis idols when I used to play table tennis. Jan-Ove Waldner, if he's listening to this podcast, hit me up. I'll come crack your back and crack your back. I'll give you some adjustments, and you can give me some ping pong lessons.
Awesome. Well, to close out, do you have any? Okay, so the podcast is the Chiropractic Student Podcast. Do you have a website for your clinic? Do you have an Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, my Instagram is just Dr. Lewis Sumner. Facebook to follow the clinic is at Epoch Lincoln. Epoch is EPOCH, and Lincoln is LINCOLN, like President Lincoln. Hey, American. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome.
Like Instagram, Facebook, anything. We don't have I'm sure we have a website for the clinic, but I personally don't have a website. I should. Maybe I should.
You should. All right.
Lewis's rants.
Well, this does bring us to the edge of our time together, Dr. Lewis. I want to thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you so much for having me. And I know I can talk for ages. That's why I got my own podcast, so I can just talk. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being our guest today. You're episode 314 of the Chiro Hustle podcast, and look forward to the opportunity when we can actually see you in person and be able to, share some time together. So get some sleep tonight. I know you have a big day ahead of you tomorrow, and welcome to the Chiro Hustle family.
Thank you so much. We'll have a big hug when we meet, a little trio hug.
All right, we're going to close out and enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will see you next time.
Thanks.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.